Hello, everyone.
Hello, Teacher Pendo.
Welcome to this week's Hot Number section. Today, we are going to be learning about tables.
What, tables? Well, I can tell you a lot about tables. In fact, my father's sister's brother's sister's nephew's neighbor is a carpenter. So I can tell you how to draw and make tables. Big tables, small tables,
Okay,
short
Marara,
ones.
that's not the kind of table I'm talking about. I am talking about this kind of table. A table is something that is used to record data or information. It makes it easier to compare different sets of data as well as to determine relationships between them. Now, the table on the board is a record of the vehicles that I saw passing by the school gate this morning. It gives the type of vehicle and the number of vehicles. Now, who can tell me what is the least common type of vehicle that passed by the gate this morning? Yes, Baraka?
The buses, Teacher Pendo.
Very good. And what about the most common type of vehicle? Yes, Anyango?
Saloon cars.
Very good. Well spotted. Now, as you can see, it is very easy to interpret the information on a table. We are now going to learn how to draw a graph from this table. A graph is yet another way to represent data in a simple and easily understood way. There are many different types of graphs, but today we shall only be covering two: bar graphs and line graphs. Let us start with the bar graph. A graph has two axes, one horizontal, usually known as the x-axis, and a vertical one called the y-axis. Now, on your worksheets, take a moment and draw a graph with two axes, y and x. So let us do that, and you can join in at home. So just get your paper and your pencil and ruler and draw those two axes. So I've got my example on the board. So your graph should look like this. On the y-axis, we are going to plot the number of vehicles. On the x-axis, we will plot the type of vehicles. We use a scale to determine the length of our axis. You must ensure that you have an appropriate scale so that your graph is as clear as possible. So our scale on the y-axis will be 1 centimeter represents 10 vehicles. Once you determine your scale, you can then draw your axis just like what we have here. After drawing your axis, you can now put in your data. Now from the table, we know that there were 40 lorries. So 1 centimeter from 0 on the x-axis, we are going to draw a bar that is as tall as the 40 mark on our y-axis. So it should look like this. All right, so we have our lorries going to the 40 mark. We are going to do the same for the other types of vehicles. Just make sure there is a 1 centimeter gap between the bars. So any questions so far? Yes, Amy?
Excuse me, Teacher Pendo.
Yes.
Is there always a space between the bars?
No, it will depend on the data. If I saw 15 different types of vehicles instead of 4, we wouldn't have to leave a gap because our graph would end up being very wide. The less the data, the more spacious your graph can be. So after plotting all our points, this is what our graph will look like. So that is what our graph will look like. Now you must make sure that your axes are properly labeled. Now we will label our y-axis number of vehicles and our x-axis type of vehicle. So does everyone understand how we draw a bar graph from our table?
Yes, Teacher Pendo.
Good. Now on to the line graph. Who can tell me what they think a line graph is? Yes, Wanjala?
Teacher, can we have lines instead of bars?
A good try, but not quite the right answer. Let me explain. A line graph is very similar to a bar graph. Now, using the same scale, we are going to plot a line graph. Now, this time, instead of drawing a bar, when you find the 40 mark on your y-axis, we are going to draw a small x or a dot, whichever you prefer. Now, once you have a dot on the corresponding values, we are going to draw a line joining the dots. And it will look like this. And there you have your line graph. Now, take some time to see if you can draw a line graph or bar graph. So let's do it. So today we have learned how to read information from a table and how to draw both a bar and line graph from information given to us on a table.